Basically, these webinars are just we're getting professionals into the to come and give a chat to new entrants and other people who want to know more about different departments or different organizations out there. Some of you, I've recognized a few names that have been in nearly all webinars we've done, which is a great turnout. And you keep coming back for more. You know, I wasn't expecting people to return, and essentially it's just to help your career in the industry. That's what whole Crew Bible is about, to help new entrants find this place in the industry, especially since there's a massive skill shortage. We have about 20,000 spaces that need to be filled by 2025. Oliver is a good friend of mine, and he's a location manager, so he's doing a location chat, which is he's more experienced and more skilled than I am in location a chat. So, oh my God, I'm going to turn my mic off because my daughters are playing outside and there's dogs barking. So that's enough of me talking. So I'll let Ollie introduce himself.
Thanks, Jay. Yeah, as you can see, I'm makeshifting, which is what most location managers do, which is like anywhere that's internet and that vaguely is quiet, you need to find a space, basically. So yeah, I'm just sort of sat outside a hotel. So yeah, I'm gonna talk to you for about half an hour. I'd like to take some questions and stuff. I'm guessing most people maybe have dabbled into the world of locations before, or have some kind of interest. So I just want to sort of go through that. I'm just going to try and share my screen now, Jay. Never mind. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I set up Location Routes about a year and a half ago. So we are basically a film and TV talent agency. We have kind of multiple kind of strands, but essentially kind of set it up basically on two principles of training location people, because I myself came up through the ranks pretty quickly and felt like there was kind of a lack of training and support, really, to be honest. And then also kind of a need for kind of training in an area that I found quite tough when I sort of first location managed, which was around sort of filming on the move. But I can go into that in a minute. So so we do kind of a routes library, which basically has when you have a brief of basically, I don't know, a scene of a car crash or a scene inside a car, that I found was one of the hardest things for people to basically like find locations that worked. There's a lot of restrictions. I myself mainly work in London and Southeast, so there's every road has a different like bylaw. So it's either like Transport for London, or it's a council road, or it's a managed by English Highways. So it was quite difficult, and also kind of convincing sort of directors that actually this is where we want to go. So we do that, traffic management, training in filming on the move, location managing, and then we've got about sort of 20 to 25 sort of freelance crew across the UK. So we've got Wales, Scotland, we haven't got anyone in Northern Ireland yet, in locations, production and AD sort of crew. So that's what we are. I started a bit of I'm non-film school kind of graduate. It wasn't something that I probably have thought about. I'd always been interested in the arts, so I started in kind of arts and theatre, and as you can see, I did a marketing degree. But really, I started in a kind of independent production company as a production manager for about 4 years, and then he kind of specialised in short films and getting like new talent into the industry. and then decided about 5 years ago to become sort of a location manager. So I retrained at the National Film and Television School. They do a short course there, and then I really went from there. So I've worked on everything from kind of Afterlife to The Outlaws, which is on BBC, Stephen Merchant one, Midwich Cuckoos, which had Keely Hawes via Sky, and then independent sort of feature film called Pirates I worked on, which was my kind of baptism of fire, I would say, which was about just pre-pandemic, really, to be honest. Now I'm doing some work for Film Fixer, the largest film office in the UK, and manage 13 London boroughs. So yeah, anything from Barnet to Haringey, Islington, Croydon, lots of different ones. And then I'm mainly sit in the private clients department, which is basically managed like historic properties, like big multi-purpose sites. So we've got kind of Thamesmead that most people would know, which is where Clockwork Orange was filmed. Chiswick House, which has had Bridgerton, The Great, The Crown, and Addington Palace. So yeah, lots of different locations that kind of we manage there. So I was going to talk about a quick overview of the team and how it works. So the main qualities that and experience that I think that people need in a locations team is loyalty. Like, you've got to be loyal to the people you're working with, and you've got to be proactive. Like, no job is too like small, like whether it's taking out the bins to managing heritage properties and the public. So there's various different things that we do, which are, we interpret a brief. So basically, a location manager or a supervising location manager would get a script, interpret the brief, and then start kind of getting questions out of the designer and director, like, where do you want to be, what kind of style, what period we work into, how long we're going to be there, what do we need to do to the place to change it in any way. So we work very much in the scouting stage with mainly the director and the designer and the DOP when they come on, and then the first AD kind of starts at the same time. So at that time, we're all trying to work towards what's the best locations to choose, where we're going to be based, and all those kind of things. Probably at that stage, we'll be working with producer and line producer quite closely. It'd be quite a small group of you before everyone kind of comes on. Like I said, we sort out the rubbish, the waste, the water, and the power. So that's really important. I definitely learned, did a couple jobs as a unit manager, but I would say anyone who's kind of wanting to bypass that stage, it's not a good idea at all. You need to know those sort of basic things of what a water bowser is, what a waste bowser is, and how a generator works, basically. And we work with the creators, as I said. We work with the practical stuff, but also the creators, so the designer. I mean, from everyone really, to be honest. We have to think logically, but also think creatively. We sort out parking, which London is quite difficult, and other cities, have their own challenges. But also, kind of, my last project was quite rural, so that has its own challenges in terms of trackway and getting permission for fields and access into those sort of sites. Basically, we have to inform the general public, so letter drops, consultations, attending residents groups. So they're massively important in order to get people's buy-in. Really, that's what you're trying to do with it. Sometimes you find amazing locations by going straight to the public as well. We secure permits. So like I said, I I think it was one bridge in London. You have to get permits from four separate organisations. I think it's Waterloo, where you have to get permission from City of London, Southwark, TfL, and the Port of London, depending if you're doing anything that's overhanging the bridge. So sometimes you have to make sure all those people know. You have to make sure you've got the paperwork, the risk assessments. You have all the information for that. You've got to both office and physical work. In the early stages of location marshalling, it can be quite physical. As you go up the kind of ladder from kind of coordinator to assistant location manager, unit manager, it becomes very office based. It's not all the kind of glam on location, which is kind of part of the job, which I quite like. We think ahead. We're probably the only ones to kind of really think about how do we get everything here and how do we get it, out again, basically. We're kind of expected to do it. So yeah, we have to think ahead and plan. We find solutions to everything. So that's whether it's, I don't know. I once had a kind of genie boom that melted the kind of tarmac. So we had to find like a tarmacker. And then we needed a road sweeper. So it's massively challenging. You've got to find different solutions and have a good kind of contacts list, basically. Good black book. So these are the sort of the roles. Supervising location managers normally happen on big kind of high-end TV shows. So say, for example, The Crown would have one supervising location manager and then maybe 3 or 4 location managers, and each of them would have assistant location managers and kind of maybe one coordinator under. So all these roles can expand. I mean, I've worked in a team of 4 of us, which traditionally, TV comedy, used to be location manager, a unit manager, an ALM, and an assistant, basically. But now it's expanded, basically. So supervising location manager would basically, if it's a 2-block sort of production, they would be working way ahead, setting the vision, working with the director. They'd probably be on about maybe 3 to 5 months ahead of filming on the bigger shows, maybe longer. So they're really on it for quite a long time. And then they would bring in their own kind of location manager. There's 2 ways in which teams like to work. Is basically a location manager per kind of large location, or it's about kind of a prep and strike location manager. Some location managers love being on set, others don't. So it's all depending. Traditionally, the ALM is always on set. They run, they work with the first AD day to day, and then they manage the kind of location assistant. Location scout is quite. Some people start it kind of mid-career. You sort of start from that kind of experience of how a shoot works. And I'll talk about scouting in a bit. Location coordinators kind of a developing role, very much paperwork based. Last production, we had kind of a production person who wants to work in locations. So he got on really well the production team, which was really useful. Kind of that cross department person, basically. And then a location assistant who would manage kind of maybe 1 or maybe lots of marshals. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's 30, it's big look off, sometimes it's just 1 or 2. It all depends. And then you've got unit managers who basically run the kind of facilities sort of side of what we do. So the unit base, the waste, the water, the power that we need. They're the same level as an ALM, and then they've got an assistant unit manager potentially and unit assistants, depending on how many moves and how many units. So the Crown has a king and queen unit, so there'll be like two unit managers and then a couple assistants there, and then they have a separate studio team when they go to Elstree. And then really in our team, I see is a security lead and guards, and there's a number of like security companies in the UK who just deal with filming, and they're really good. So yeah, and it's a great way to get involved. And then you've got facilities captains and base people that you need to be kind of effectively in your team anyway. So companies like movie makers, ADF, people will be aware of. So yeah, that's the kind of scope of the team really. And then really the entry level jobs, just checking time, are location marshalling and security guards really, to be honest. And you can pretty much go up the ladder quite quickly. Like people talk about, you know, the difference between a marshal and an assistant. To be honest, it's just a little bit more responsibility, to be honest, and you're contracted for a little bit longer. So what's a typical day is really about ensuring the kind of location is open, that everyone's parked, the location owners are happy, everyone's got all they need in terms of power, water, heating, lighting, cooling, all of that sort of stuff. I've so many productions where you're filming throughout the season. 1 minute you need cooling, and 1 minute you need heating. So you've got to have everything to hand or at your production base, really, to be honest. And crew do expect it, to be honest. You've also got to think about setting up green rooms and holding space, dining setups. Dining setups become massively more kind of important now with kind of continuous days, semi-continuous days. And you've got to protect the location and change the bins and everything else. You've also got to kind of be prepared of any like location moves and weather changes. So I did a shoot probably about 2 years ago now. We had 7 locations in Shoreditch. So we worked out of a base and we did 7 moves. We had to coordinate that between a team of, I think it was about 10 to 12 of us. And that was probably the most hectic we've kind of ever been, really, to be honest. We had to be light on our feet, really, to be honest. And then we, like I said, plan ahead. So we have movement orders, we set up future locations, we make sure people are in the right place at the right times. We get in kind of the art department in, do letter drops, all of those kind of things. So any one of those things I could be doing or someone else in the team could be doing, basically. Finding and searching. Sorry. Yeah.
Are you presenting your PowerPoint on your like? I'm not receiving it. Neither as a few people. If you're presenting the PowerPoint.
Oh. Do you want me to send the PowerPoint?
If you want to show off, because when you send me a PowerPoint, I thought you were going to present it. Well.
Yeah. Can you not see it? Hold on. No.
No.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt your floor there.
No, it's fine. Right. Can you see it now at all?
Sorry about that.
Can you see it now, Jake?
Yeah, I can. Can everyone else see it? Yeah, get a thumbs up from.
Lovely railway track. Yeah. Okay. Finding and securing a location. So one of the first ones I did was short films. I started in, like I said, we had to find like a futuristic, like almost concrete kind of building. Quite hard to do. And so we had to end up going on a library. Now this location's been used before. I kind of recognized it. And it's been used for capture code 404 that you've probably seen on Sky. Capture was BBC, I think. But you can see in the background, obviously, there. So there's a number of different like location agencies that you can go onto and find. So locality are one. This location looks great, but actually, you know, it was really tricky for parking. So you'll see, you know, they do say parking is tricky, which is good, but that you're going in blind. You don't know how you're going to service it. You don't know what it's like. The director loved this location, but there were so many challenges with noise, underground, right next to a bus route. I think there was an underground station quite nearby as well. So there was loads of issues. Sound absolutely hated it. So you're trying to avoid sometimes locations that are basically unserviceable if you can. But yeah, of course, this, you know, if you're trying to find something unique, this is how you can do it, apart from the traditional way of doing it. This is just one example. So across the UK, there's lots of different like film offices. So like Berkshire, kind of in the southeast, there's a Berkshire film office. You can search locations, but you can also, this is how to kind of apply for permits. So if you want to do anything on the street that's above 5 people, then you need a permit basically. Or if you're filming in a park, you'll need a permit anyway, basically. So they have like a, filming sort of inquiry system, and then various different sort of policies and procedures. So you need to like parking forms and all of that sort of stuff. One of my first roles was on a E4 comedy called Max. We had to find various different things. I took over mid-job, so it was quite chaotic, and I didn't have much time to do, so I found kind of quick solutions. But when I was doing that job, we ended up traveling like from East London to West London, south to north, and it was chaotic because no one had planned where we were going, and we were actually searching for locations just blind on libraries. So that's why I say sometimes libraries are great, but sometimes they mean you have to go to where that actual place is, basically. So sometimes it's better just to find it yourself. So like I said, go direct. So yeah, we found a theatre, Troxy Theatre, which is in Limehouse. Great multi-purpose venue. Had a couple of like days that were free for our fundraising kind of location. Took over the location. Again, in this kind of environment, you have to make sure you've got the parking. They had parking on street, so we had to spend that with Tower Hamlets Council. We also had to make sure we had a technician from the venue as well, which is always useful, because the lighting department always go, can we change that light? Can we do this? How do we turn on this speaker? All those kind of things. And we used some of the backstage areas, so there was a kind of cost for the general hire, and then the backstage area, and then we had to add on kind of with the parking, basically. Again, libraries here. It's one of the hardest locations I've filmed in because it was just really difficult parking. But you can see kind of, your vision does come true when you go from here to there. You can see the staircase in the actual show, and then this kind of space. But again, what we made the mistake here was basically this is dance studio. This is an open like acoustic place. So I took over this location and was just like, how are we ever going to do it? The dance studio was down there. So what we should have done was brought the whole place out to make sure, we could actually do the scenes that we needed. It was quite difficult on the day. We ended up doing it, but it was mighty tough. So you always got to think about other departments and how you can access it. And you can see there, we padded like the inside of here. So I don't know why we went here. I think it was for the staircase. And then lesser drops. So I worked on a Paramount show called Flatshare last year, where I had to find a block of flats. That was it. Next to a train line with a city backdrop, kind of with open space. The director didn't want like heavy kind of enclosed council estates. So I found this place in Vauxhall area, South London, Southwest London area, just by looking at Google Map and going, well, it was near Park. It's quite near the Vauxhall Tavern, if anyone knows that kind of area. So that's the show Flatshare. You can see it on Paramount Plus. We had to do loads of different locations, all in a really short amount of time. They were doing basically doubles for London and Bristol. so they only had a certain amount of days in London. So we had to find locations that were close together for the shoot days that we had, and near a unit base. And one of the first things I did actually was book the unit base once I found that block of flats. So we booked Waterloo, the Eurostar Old Terminal car park there. I did it before we had all the permissions because I knew there was only a couple of unit bases that would serve it. So as you can see, like the block of flats was above the Vauxhall Gardens here. So we used the Vauxhall Gardens. I found a couple of roads all around it where we could do kind of scenes with a bus stop, bus that was kind of pulling up, one in traffic jam, and a kind of motorway sort of sorry, not a motorway, a motorcycle kind of weaving through. It was all these kind of chasing, like following people home, kind of into the block of flats. So we were able to do it in a really contained area. And then in the area where I was scouting, we had loads of options, luckily, for green rooms and like crew dining. So we used like community centres. There was an Airbnb. There was a function room of a pub. So we used all of those. And when I scouted, I was finding all these things first. It was like, yep, we can do it here. And then also I found spaces for kind of our tech vehicles, which were dotted around. There was a lot of pay and display bays there. In cities, it's always kind of like resident bays are your last kind of option. So you want pay and display kind of bays as much as you can, in kind of quieter streets. And this was a good area to do it. So as you can see, you're always aiming for like maximum of 15 minutes. The assistant directors get really aggy if you give them more than 50 minutes. So this was 8 minutes to the location to the unit base. As I said, it was Waterloo. So it was ideal. And then that was just like a case study, getting into like the locations department. Main thing is to get on Facebook. There's a great group called Location Department Juniors. There's about 4,000 people on there now, so it's quite popular. In busy times, posting all the time. So it's about kind of responding to adverts. There's also kind of screen skills trainee final that isn't open at the moment, but opens thinking about the autumn, which is always worth doing. It kind of means that you're in a kind of cohort of other people, and they kind of do placements on the larger high-end TV or feature films. It's like 2 different programs. And then the NFTS are running kind of various location courses. I've got a short thing of where they are. The main thing is starting marshalling really and doing that. There is a Set Ready program that Film Fixer runs, so you can find out more information on there. It's really about getting your CV kind of up to date. I mean, I'm always looking for like people who have got kind of customer service skills, maybe a bit of admin skills, and any kind of like experience is worthy, really, to be honest. No kind of job is not worth putting down if you're really at the kind of entry level stage. And then the other good way of doing is becoming a BEC2 member. So they're the union who represent kind of the kind of film and TV industry, and we've got quite an active like locations branch. They have like a London branch and then a wider like UK one. So that's really worthwhile. They'll be running like a under 35s like offer for 3 months of free recently. So there's always those kind of things. So don't like, kind of pay loads for membership. There's these offers and stuff. And then really like in the last kind of 3 years, it's been loads of COVID opportunities to get into. So people have taken those. So like COVID runners, marshals, they are still happening. People are still being tested. So, it is still around. So there was coordinators in that. It's a great way to kind of get into the industry. A lot of people I know have come through like the security route. So it's worth, if you've got time, during the summer, get an SIA badge. It takes, I think, a couple of days to get, like on the training course. And then, you you can work, and they're always looking for good people, like really quick. So yeah, it's a constant way of getting kind of involved in that. There's also other roles you can do, like 4x4 drivers. You can drive like bigger vehicles. Traffic management is quite a specialist area, but kind of you can work on multiple productions, and then also kind of other suppliers as well. So Location One are looking for drivers. All those other roles are all valid to trying to get into kind of the locations industry. I always find like networking is really good, and I think it's really important to have like your own network, no matter kind of whether you've just started at kind of just graduating from film school, or like a career changer. Like start to kind of try and connect with people that make your own network basically. So there's various different things, like Beck to have like Marshall mixes occasionally and like meetings. Some of the like film offices, there was one in the Northeast that were doing like a social event in the summer. Next week there's like a free one at Free Mill Studios, where you can like in London, East London, where you can like network with other people. All those kind of things I always try and get to as much as I can, because it's a good way of making your face known basically. Because without that, how are you going to get kind of work unless you're responding to constant Facebook posts, which is you're always checking your phone. There's a big event called Focus in London at the Business Design Centre in Islington that literally everyone goes to, like all the location people, every December, and it's free and there's lots of drinks, so that's really worthwhile. But if you're looking to approach someone, I would always just do it direct. Just email them, like ask them for a coffee, ask them for a drink. Don't go in with a sales pitch. Just be interested in them. It might be like when I first started, I really liked Killing Eve, The Crown, and The Bodyguard, and those were the shows that I found out who the location managers were and started to approach them. I also approached Midsummer Murders, and that's where I got like my first break with Andy Henstock, and he gave me the opportunity to just be a trainee for a day, which was great because it was quite like near sort of where I was in Beaconsfield. It's those kind of things. Without me doing that, I probably wouldn't have kind of ended up getting into the industry. So everyone's looking to kind of find the next new talent, and you will find, I mean, certainly I've worked with like the same sort of person for a number of years on multiple jobs, because people go, well, I trust them, so I'll work with them. And then the key attributes kind of to like a good marshal is being on time, like even before your kind of call time. Don't ever let people down like last minute. They'll just basically erase you from your phone, if I'm being honest, and or scratch your CV from their desk. So yeah, never do that. Network, create your own connections, be helpful to others. Like people love recommendations. So like on the juniors group, who owns this kind of location, or has anyone seen this? Like be responsive, like within the locations community. One important thing is to do your role. So if you get tasked with a role like locking off an area, don't just leave your position until you're asked. Basically, don't go, oh, I really like to get involved in the camera department today, and just kind of wander off and help them. That's not really what we want you to do. We want you to be part of the locations team. Skills kind of things. Driving license is helpful but not essential. It's really helpful for scouting. But if you're in a city like Manchester, Liverpool, you can pretty much get around buses, public transport and that sort of thing. Kind of more remote, you're going to need it. I certainly always try and employ someone who's a location assistant who has got a driving license, that is over 25 and can drive a Luton, because otherwise who else is going to do it basically. Ability to kind of communicate with the public is really important, and understanding of the film industry, and then radio etiquette. If you don't know radio etiquette, I'd say just learn it, practice it, like informally. There's lots of different like online courses that you can do. Not going to go through it now, but yeah, it's really, really important. And then, like I said, my pet hate and pet thing is basically around just getting your name out there. Like there's loads of free like film offices that run kind of like listings agencies. So wherever you are in the UK, like the North, Midlands, Southeast, East, you can sign up for these for free, put your name down. You know, I started as Oliver, location assistant, and I've got family in Glasgow, I've got family in the Midlands, and I've got family down in Brighton and Sussex. So I listed in all those places. I know I can have like bases, and that's kind of, you know, a good thing. If I can't get work in London, then and the Southeast, that's where I'd like to work next, basically. So you're making yourself more available, and you know, I have been approached through these like listings myself because not enough people do it, basically. Like I said, trainee finder, this was from last year. So yeah, you've got the film and trainee finder that have locations, people in, and the high-end TV. Basically, the two are kind of merging together. So I'd say at the moment, like in London, I know, for example, there's only like 7 feature films at the moment, and there's about 20 high-end TV or like BBC, ITV productions. So it's just about thinking like, you know, which avenue you go down. Like you can transfer, like in the old days, previous to when I got in, there was a kind of like feature film like crew, and then there was a high-end like a TV crew. Now it's very merged because of the streamers. So it's completely up to you. You know, you'll get placed kind of wherever, and lots of people have gone on to do like really good things. And as I mentioned, the NFTS, they're running this course in Glasgow in a couple of weeks' time. I think it's 2 weeks' time, in like location scouting, if you're interested in that. And then, like I mentioned, we run loads of different things. So we have a talent agency that's kind of £20 just to get like an online listing, and then we're doing some unit managing, like a network as well, and various different other courses and different things. We do loads of different things throughout the year, and that's me. I try to keep it like 40 minutes, so there's like a good chunk of time to ask questions. Are there any questions?
Jake there has his hand raised.
Hi, Jay. Hi, Jay. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, good.
I was just curious. I know you started as a location manager and you switched over to film fixer.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what have you learned that you think you can take film fixer back into the real world? And how has the experience been working on the other side?
Yeah, it's quite fascinating, like being in a film office, because a lot of people aren't location people, they aren't, you know, production crews. So it's almost kind of like I've gone in there kind of making, you know, kind of upskilling them, which is hopefully going to help like location managers to kind of understand, them to understand how location managers act and why they're stressed, and, you know, why sometimes you don't get answers and all those sort of things. So, yeah, I mean, when I go back kind of into LMing, I think it will make me understand the challenges that they have with different teams like traffic. I mean, some councils are great and some aren't. And like from the outsider point of view, as a location manager, you go, well, they're advertising that we can do like traffic and whatever here. Why isn't it easy? And there's loads of like politics in like councils and departments that, you know, they need to speak to before they can get the answers. So yeah, those kind of things would be interesting. I think the biggest thing that people that I found was when they were like, "Oh, we're resting this location." I think that really frustrated like location managers. So understanding that better when like a production's come in and like taken over the place, for months, and then you want to come in and do the same thing. They are the film office is on your side, and you should always make like friends and contacts with them. Like the first person that I worked with at Film Fix is a guy called Tim. He's now in our team, so never fall out with them because you won't be able to go back there. And even in like regional places like Bristol, there's like 3 film offices in Bristol. So don't go and, even if you're at a junior stage, don't go kind of messing about with them because it will come back to bite you. So those relationships are key and they will help you. Like we get loads of briefs that like I'd like to say, they deal with like on a good level, but do ask some questions. They are there to, like be used. They want to make income for like their council partners and stuff. So it is important to kind of, connect and reach out to them. They'll know more things than you will. Does that answer your question, Jay?
Yeah, no, it does. It's really helpful. I think it's really good that you've added in that you're sort of teaching them outside of it, because they probably don't necessarily understand why we're asking the questions we're turning. Why can we turn this around so quick? Why do I only have a day? Why is there no parking? Blah, blah, blah. But that's a really good thing that you're teaching them outside of the job as well as you learning theirs. And I think that's
absolutely
cool. So yeah, thank you for doing that. That's great.
Cool. Yeah, and then I forgot to mention, like every council has different like lead times. So like in, I don't know, Kingston, it might be 10 working days for parking and 5 days for this. So it's always worth checking, kind of definitely in London because it's so complicated. Bristol and like other cities are kind of like standard across. It's worth knowing those, and they do change as well. So yeah. I've got a question from Abdullah's got his hand up. Abdullah. Abdul, sorry. Mute. Oh. Jay, do you want to unmute? Abdul.
I don't think I'll unmute him.
Oh, here we go. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I a couple of months ago, I just finished a National Film and Television location marshal course. I live in Northern Ireland, and they kind of hit us with a lot of figures and said that they were looking for people to go into location and primarily get them started as marshals and then sort of go up from there. Obviously, the writers' strike then hit, and what I've kind of found is that Northern Ireland is a very sort of like cliquey in the way that it seems to. There's, they really like it's quite hard, sort of getting in and meeting different people. Now, I've been going to a lot of networking events, and a lot of people from locations just don't turn up. Obviously, they're busy and they can't just drop stuff. I'm also I'm emailing and ringing people up, and I'm just wondering, do you think I'm limiting myself by staying here, or because there seems to be a lot of work back over in England and Scotland, and from what I'm seeing, but do you think I'm sort of limiting myself a little bit just staying here?
I mean, yeah, it's completely up to you, but I would always say like the best way is to try and kind of get bases in other cities if you are like struggling. So if you do have, family or friends that are in a major kind of, let's face it, the main areas in like sort of England, Wales and Scotland. So you've got London and South East, which is kind of all the studios are clustered around there. That's kind of obvious. Bristol, Cardiff is another kind of hub. Birmingham is getting there, but it's not massive. Like there's a couple productions. Liverpool, Manchester are kind of booming. There's like new studios going in there, loads of different things. And there's a little bit up in the northeast for Jay, but not too much. So yeah, it's worth looking at those other bases. I think it's quite, from my understanding, like I speaking to an Irish location manager who was working in the UK. He works in Kerry, and Dublin. It took him about 2 or 3 years to kind of get established, but he was working on like The Crown before, and then moved to Ireland. So,
all right, okay,
yeah, there is a small sort of pool. There are more productions coming to like Belfast and Northern Ireland. Screen Skills are doing like hopefully a lot more training there, and like the way the Irish system works, because I've just been talking to this location manager, is you become a location trainee, and then you become assistant. So there isn't like a marshals as such in Northern Ireland.
It's like they from what they said to us was hopefully we can you can find work as location marshals, but then we found out that most of the location marshals are actually people from security firms who are just hired on a daily or weekly basis, and they're not actually they don't have like a regular teams of location marshals. It's all sort of agency staff, so it randomly employed. So it's just sort of like, why did I do this course?
No, I mean, I think it's worth sticking out. I think are you connected with like Northern Ireland Screen, because they put call outs like profile on there and that kind of thing. Like try message people through that and find out who's kind of working there, because there is like Blade Runner going to be filming in Belfast soon.
Well, that's a little bit up and down at the minute, isn't it?
It is a bit up and down. I mean, I was going to mention like the strikes, because you mentioned like most people probably know like strikes have kind of impacted from America. So they've got like extended the talks until I think 12th next week, and then it might take a while to kind of agree, and then you've got the restart of kind of writing again. So realistically, I said I know quite a lot of what's happening in London. Like there's about 7 feature films in London at the moment, which is like ridiculously tiny. I mean, like post-COVID, it was about 25.
Oh,
yeah, and TV dramas are continuing. It's like the ITVs and the BBCs, but their budgets have been slashed by about 25% as well. So it's a knock-on impact. And then, of course, like cost of living. So like materials have gone up, and like the cost of studios because the energy prices. So it's like all these like combinations of different things that have happened basically to kind of impact that. But I mean, I've not seen it like this before. It will get better, but I think it's kind of riding it out and trying to like almost weave your way into different roles, like try and look at like security, try and look at other departments, or trying to look at, I mean, we were having chat before, Jay's doing marshalling work for like a really well-known location manager, but that's just so that he can provide for his family. That you've got to work basically, so you got to find ways of doing it.
Talking about the whole writer strike, Luke has asked if any comments or thought on the writer strike. Currently, the industry is so quiet. In the chat, got a few questions. Then we've got Sheila after. I can't pronounce her name. Never been able to pronounce her name. I'm sorry for murdering your name there.
Again about the writer strike, so a lot of commercials are still happening, and so that's one area that you could look at like getting work in. So there's a lot of like commercial agencies that I don't know that many, but there's ones like sort of Scout and Salt, pretty busy. Definitely in kind of London area. So it's worth thinking about, like, all your kind of skills and contacts to look at ways in which you can kind of work in those sectors. So if you've been working in feature films, for example, I think Luke mainly works at feature films. Think about those people will probably be looking on that kind of, all the people who work in feature films are now working on independent features and commercials. So everyone's kind of moving where the work is at the moment. But it's worth seeing if you can work in those areas. But don't feel like you don't restrict yourself to where you're working and what you're doing. So I'm reading out a question. Do you have any advice of getting into the floor side of location work? The floor side is basically the floor is managed by the location assistant. Really, is the floor person. I mean, there are in the ADs there are kind of lock off PAs and stand-ins. So those are kind of other opportunities to kind of get involved in there. But yeah, a kind of location assistant, if they've got ADing experience, then they'll understand the floor better. So it's worth putting in, your CV in and tailoring it to a locations role, but saying that you've done that experience before. Sheila, do you want to, yeah.
Hello. Hello again. You don't remember me, but we worked together in The Crown. I was in the Queen.
Oh, I didn't work on The Crown, but
oh, you
I know,
didn't? Okay.
yeah, I know lots of people
I
who
thought
did.
it was you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, my question is, I want to get really into scouting rather than managing location management. Is it a realistic dream to try and eventually be working mainly in scouting? I am a mountain guide and I'm looking to be outdoors, but not guiding people. Just it would be interested to work in the industry. I was in North Wales this week working with another big production. So is that a realistic dream, or if you want to be doing that, you will have to do the whole location management thing?
Yeah, great question. So location scouts have kind of come up with two different things. So two different ways into the industry. So either I know people who've like been in the film office and then become a scout, so they understand kind of understanding briefs. So there's a couple of people who do that. I would always say, like, the best thing for a scout to do is understand how set works and how a location works. Because if you don't understand that, then you're never going to understand. You might find like a building, or I don't know, a bus stop. I'm looking at straight out there, but it might be completely unserviceable. So like it might be on a red route in London, or it might be impossible to close, like a bus stop. So
Oh no.
The thing is, if that's booked down, I believe you emailed your question in as well, didn't you, Sheila? Yes, you did. You're on my list.
Yes.
Do you think I should continue this question? Well, all of us internet sort of stuff out. I think.
Oh, that has.
yeah. You're back, yeah. Yeah, you're back, yeah. Yeah, so like I said, they've got to understand like where where they're going to park the vehicles and everything else. So yeah, a scout can have a good career as just a scout. Sometimes a like an ALM or a location manager will be the scout, and they'll bring someone else in. So there's kind of two ways of doing it. But as a location manager, I'm kind of expected to like scout when I'm first brought on. Maybe like on the last show that I did like 4 weeks solid scouting, and then had like I think 10 weeks to kind of prep, basically. But yeah. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Great. James, I think. James.
Hello.
Hi,
Can you hear
James.
me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Okay. My question was really about stepping up in the industry, because I sounds a bit of a joke, really, but I've been a COVID production manager, and I've done sort of quite high level work, and a lot of it there's a lot of sort of overlap with ALM work and LM work, but because the majority of my locations work has been as a marshal, I'm finding it difficult to even get LA work. You see so many adverts where it says you need 2 LA credits to sort of get the part, and I'm just finding it quite frustrating. I'm wondering if you have any advice on sort of moving up, really.
Yeah, I mean, you're not alone, because a lot of people kind of came into the industry like via COVID. So I did COVID supervising on a couple shows, but that was sort of like after I'd been in LM, and I didn't want to do it like for a while because I've been known as just a COVID supervisor, and then I was kind of like, well, what's that look like? We didn't know how long it was going to last. In terms of experience and stuff, I would say it's about like approaching the right people, and it can almost kind of ignoring like you've got to have at least 2 credits. Here we go again. You lost me again.
Breaking up a little.
Oh, you're here. Sorry. Yeah, ignoring you have to have 2 credits. Always asking like around what you see on a job advert. Like, I had a back career before I got involved into locations. Like there are experienced people who transition into the industry from like military and stuff. So it's always worth like saying about that experience, and just really kind of like packaging kind of how you do it. But what I would say is get in contact, and if anyone can get in contact with me, I'm happy to kind of help with anyone's CV or whatever. But I would say is just experience is what, like, a more experienced location assistant is always better than kind of an inexperienced one.
Thank you.
The 2 credits thing is on like things like talent manager and stuff. I'd never look at talent manager, to be honest.
No.
I've never got a job from there, and I applied for stuff. Any other questions? So I'm just gonna dig back into.
I've got a question that sent via email from someone who wasn't able to attend. This is does a location runner / assistant work in factual TV translate to work in locations with scripted productions? It seems like there's a lot of overlap in skills, i.e. managing public liaison with location owners, etc. But the jump from unscripted to scripted seems daunting. Any advice on how to stand out to potential employers if trying to make the move into scripted? That's from Jenny.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say like unscripted and unscripted are quite separate beasts, to be honest, in the way in which they work. I was a location researcher for Escape to the Country, which was a great job. I used to travel around like just finding houses. I only did like 1 job there, and I knew if I had to like sort of go and do that, I'd have to be a researcher, then an AP, and then like it was quite limiting. There are people who do like bounce between like successfully scripted and unscripted and do multiple different things. It's kind of what I said about commercials. Like some people will just be like Mr. or Mrs. Commercial, and some people will like have two different things sort of going on. It is quite difficult to do it. I would say again, it's about trying to find I always say you need like 3 good contacts who will give you work. So you need one you're working with currently. You need kind of one that's you've worked with before but are maybe prepping on the next show, and you need one that's kind of quiet in a kind of model like that, to be honest. So it is about finding those people, and if you wanted to work in, say for example, commercials, unscripted, scripted, you'll need like multiple kind of contacts to do that. It's not impossible. There are a lot of similarities. Like a location researcher was basically a scout, but a really poorly paid scout, so it wasn't great. So yeah, there's pros and cons about each. It all depends on where you want to sort of go. Because the kind of unscripted world is about like you have to start as a researcher, which is very paperworky and maybe a little bit more kind of where you definitely got smaller crews basically on shows like Escape to the Country. There was only like a team of 5 of us each place. So yeah, that answers her question. When she watches this back. Are there any other? Oh, here we go. Yasmin has asked, how long would you recommend to stay as a marshal for trying to make the transition to a L? I think she means ALM. I would say you need a decent amount of time as a location assistant. So like, don't want to put like a credit worth of it, but it used to be it's like 3 credits and then you move up. But what I would say is don't jump too fast before you can walk. There's a lot more that you need to learn, and I would definitely say if you can do like a location assistant role and then a unit assistant role, or become a unit manager on like a smaller sort of production, then it's it's really important to kind of like learn the basics and learn it well, rather than try. I see a lot of like location assistants like jumping up to ALM, and there's huge amount more responsibility as a ALM when you're just starting out, and it happened during like post-COVID a lot. How long can a CV be for an older person? Good question. It's one page basically. So yeah, like I said, I had a career before that didn't have many credits, so I had like a regular person CV, I suppose, which was like 2 pages. So it needs to be 1 page. I always put all my credits. It's now 2 pages, and I make sure I name drop as many people as I can in it. So when like for me, when an SLM or an LM is looking at my CV, they go, "Oh, you've worked with them. You've worked with him, her," and they'll go, "Okay, I'll buzz him or give him a call. Like, what's Ollie like? Tell me," and they'll probably give you a straight answer. Always make sure Michelle sort of does some work. She always says put the GDPR statement on your bottom of your CV as well. Michelle's going to ask a question now. Any other questions at all?
Carry on from CVs. A lot of people ask me this, and like I have my own opinion on it. I just want to know your opinion as well. Is especially with today's whole uncertainty of gaps. As my last work before I got this long contract with this big production was March, and there's many other people out there who have massive gaps. What would be the best way to just explain gaps for anyone else who are like facing unemployment at the minute in the CV in between jobs?
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways of going about it. There's the one way of like just making stuff up, which is not good. You know, I would always recommend if someone, well, I know people who've come in and out of the industry over the last like 2 years just for loads of different reasons, and it's sometimes about being honest and going, well, I did that other job for this amount of time, and then come back to it. So like my CV now, like my last job as a LM was October, because I took a couple of months off to have like my first child, and then I started Film Fixer in February. So like, yeah, so I'd be in the same position, but I would say, you know, I took 2 months off paternity, and then, you know, my contract worked with Film Fixer like since February, basically. So yeah, it's about kind of putting that down. Don't see it as a blank as well. There's the other option of don't just putting your last credit and going, you know, worked last in like February or whenever. Everyone will know what everyone's going through. It was like COVID when there was that massive gap, not a massive gap, but like I think I worked in the March and then didn't work again in film and TV until about July, August. So there was a gap there, and I literally worked. Well, I worked in a hospital cleaning, and that's what I put, and that got me like COVID jobs. But yeah, generally, like never make up stuff on CVs, and you know, I would always keep it like film focused, basically. So answer your question, Jay.
I believe that will answer some questions. Yeah. So anyone else getting?
No.
Oh. Well, thank you for giving up an hour of your time. Ollie, for now.
No problem at all. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, if anyone wants to kind of reach out to me, let me know. I'm going to put my email address in chat just so everyone has it. Any other thing?
Be sending out a thank email to everyone,
Just let me know.
which will have a form in, like a feedback form, which people I'll put in the chat, and I'll CC you. Michelle has asked, Ollie, do you think training courses are as important as the job experience? Last little
Oh,
for everyone.
it depends. I think there's a certain point where you can be like overtrained in certain things. So like if people have done like location marshalling, like 3 different courses, I say, well, why are they doing those? I think it's about training the right areas. So like health and safety is really important. So there's like the Mark Wilson Foundation does like a health and safety passport. I would say everyone try and like get that. It's about £20. It lasts for 5 years. Make sure you get all your screen skills ones done because that helps. Productions always like mandate you to do it. So now, maybe if you've got downtime, I would do as many as you can there. Just be clever with it, and don't waste money on training. That's what I would say. There are certain providers out there who will charge 350 quid for a location course. So yeah. Great stuff. Brilliant. Thanks, everyone. And yeah, get in touch with me if you have any questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Everyone just seems to have left there.
Cheers, Jay. Thanks for that.
Anytime, Luke.
Really cool, man. Really cool.
Thank you very much, mate. I hope you enjoyed. I'll be sending out a feedback form as well.
Yeah, if you do any more of these, please keep us in touch, man. Keep in touch because these are absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Is locations just what you want to be in?
Yeah, but I just need to move up because last year I've done a lot of LM and then I got promoted to LA, and due to with all the strike that's happening, I had to pretty much have to pick up any job that I get right now. So I want to move up the ladder, but it just takes time, I guess.
I had my first location management role, like major location management role this year. And I thought, well, that's me stepping up to an LM, but no, the strikes happened. So I'm stuck. So I'm doing marshalling now to feed me bank account and feed me kids.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm marshalling right now as we speak. So there we are.
What are you on? Who?
Beaumont.
Beaumont.
Yeah.
Who's the
we're up in Hemel Hempstead at the moment. Got Ellie as our LM, and then Hannah Sapira as our ALM.
Hannah Sapler, yeah. Yeah, I know Hannah Sapler.
Yeah.
That name rings a bell. I think I've seen her about.
Little French girl, really lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely
So yeah,
little-
just doing dailies between this Pilgrim, Head of State. Yeah, copy that. So yeah, making the most of it.
Are you in the group chats by any chance?
I am in the group chat. Yeah, I'm with the pineapples.
Pineapples. I've got people's first names or just numbers. Like full names of that.
It's Luke Juranic.
Yeah, I've got your full name. Yeah, I believe.
Yeah.
Right, thanks very much for showing up, Luke.
All right. Thanks, Jay.
Once you
Take
get
care.
fill in that once you get fill in the feedback form as well.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do.
Thank you very much.
See you later, mate. Take care.
Bye.